Hello and welcome to episode 123 of the HamCorp Training Manual. In this episode, we craft and build the DTPF, the Dimensionally Transcendent Plasma Forge. To help in this process, we also set up the first of many advanced assembly lines and revamped the nquata line. We also set up passive production of DTPF catalyst. So my eternal singularities are done. This means I am one step away from making the DTPF. And I think that is what I'm going to work on today. In the background, I'll continue working on Compact Fusion 4, but for now, let's do the DTPF. One thing I want to say is I ran into some throughput issues with the compressor. It wasn't making blocks fast enough just because of how slow AE2 was putting items in. So now I use crafting input buses. And these have access to my entire ME system all at once. So it cut down significantly on the dead time, to the point that there was no dead time. This was really nice because none of these are fluid recipes, so this just works. I also did that for one of the linked input buses. These linked input buses, by the way, they really suck. The 18 slots is not enough. I had to replace one of them with the crafting input bus and proxy, and now all of these recipes are in here. These are all ones that don't use any fluids because remember that this is separated from the input hatch. I can't see the input hatch, so all of these recipes are fluidless, and the ones that need fluids, I still have a linked input bus. One thing that's nice about using this crafting input bus is that you still don't have to think about hot ingots. All of these dusts produce hot ingots, but I don't have them encoded. It's kind of intelligent that way. It's basically just an interface plus input bus combo, so it sends the items in, it makes hot ingots which get output, and the hot ingots are automatically put into my vacuum freezer, same as before. So nothing special that needed to be changed here, which is nice. I have just finished crafting up 64 industrial mixing machines. I'm gonna have to figure out where to put these. I think it's going to be a new building, but they are going to be used to make these different excited dimensionally transcendent catalyst cells. So each of the dimensionally transcendent catalysts builds off of the previous one. You just add a bunch of different plasmas. And I have looked through all the plasmas, and I can make all of them, except for the ones for the highest tier. This needs condensed raw stellar plasma mixture, which I cannot make. I don't even know how you get this. It seems like the Eye of Harmony is the only way, so this doesn't matter at the moment. But all the other ones I can do. To get excited dimensionally transcendent catalyst, I just run it through a laser engraver. Pretty simple. Extremely slow. Both of these steps are extremely slow, and I am going to need a lot of this stuff. I don't know if I need every variant. I think I do, but I'm not sure. This is a checkbox quest, so I will checkbox it, but I am going to have to actually do this. This means I can start working on the DTPF, the Dimensionally Transcendent Plasma Forge. This is an interesting multi. I need to run it for 8 hours straight. I don't know how this works with server resets, so I will ask around about that. But running it constantly for 8 hours or longer reduces catalyst consumption by 50%. That is a lot. Building this thing is going to need a lot of coils, and while it shows cupronickel coils, it doesn't actually accept them. The minimum tier of coil required is actually awakened draconium, which is probably what I'm going to make because everything higher than that is too expensive for me at the moment. Plus, once I have this, I can make infinity more easily, which will allow me to make the infinity coils at some point. The controller needs a bunch of stuff: 20 optical mainframes, 16 mega blast furnaces, UEV components, the singularities, a quantum anomaly, californium, an IC2 teleporter, which is actually pretty easy to make, a really ultimate battery, which is expensive but doable. This needs bio mainframes, so UEV circuits. It also needs ultimate batteries, which looks like I can make in a space assembler, but I actually can't because it needs a Mark II module, and it needs magneto-hydrodynamically constrained star matter bolts, which I cannot make. Instead, I'll have to use the assembly line method. This is expensive, but doable. The scan for the DTPF controller is a dimensional bridge, which I will also need for the structure itself. For the structure, I need dimensionally transcendent casings, dimensional injection casings, and dimensional bridges. The transcendent casings are not too hard to make. It's a UIV assembly line process, so I'm going to have to overclock. But besides that, it just uses some materials that I have. The scan is an iron singularity. Dimensional injection casings, also quite doable. Needs super chest 5s, which is funny. Super tank 5 as well. Other materials, a pico wafer, which I haven't made before. but I can do this in a chem reactor. It needs raw pico wafers, which are laser engraved photonically prepared wafers, so not too hard. The scan for this is a dimensionally transcendent casing. And finally, the dimensional bridges. The scan for this is the dimensional injection casing. And to make this, I need more pico wafers, iron singularities, and UV microwave energy transmitters. These are not hard to make. So this is also going to take quite some time to gather the materials for. It doesn't explicitly say here, as far as I can tell, but it does accept TechTech hatches, because if you hold shift, here it says I can use 1 or 2 energy hatches or 1 TechTech energy hatch. I will definitely be using the TechTech energy hatch, and all this other stuff I will start gathering right now. And as always, I am just bleeding Infinity Catalyst. I would get slightly more Infinity Catalyst if I used Mark 10 drones, so I'm going to make one. I need to craft another Mark 9 drone to scan for the data stick, but actually crafting this drone shouldn't be too bad. I do need to make 2 UEV field gens, which is a bit pricey, but it has to be done. And it's totally doable. It's just some optical mainframes and a bunch of titanium, infinity. Nothing new, nothing crazy. Also, I just set up my first advanced assembly line. This is an interesting multi-block. It's quite easy to automate for a single recipe, but for doing multiple recipes in the same advanced assembly line, I need to think about that some more, and I'm not even sure it's possible without the advanced stocking input hatch. So let me explain the multi and also my setup. So the multi-block itself is basically the same as the regular assembly line, but it kind of has parallels, and it has as many parallels as there are slices. Each layer of this thing is a slice, so this is the first slice, this is the second slice, this is the third slice, and so on. For the bioprocessing unit, I can have a maximum of 7 parallels because this is a 7-slice recipe. But the parallels are not quite like other parallels in the game. The different slices come online in sequence, so you don't get the full 7 parallels immediately. It has to build up to 7 parallels, and then at the end of the recipe, each slice kind of shuts down in sequence as well. The advanced assembly line accepts laser hatches, so I have a 256 amp UHV laser hatch here, and it has its own unique overclocking mechanics. So it overclocks normally using higher voltage. So if this was a UEV laser hatch, I would get an extra normal overclock, 2 to 4 overclock. But the fact that this has more amps gives this thing a laser overclock. And I think this is the only multi in the whole game that has this specific overclocking mechanism. Laser overclocks are worse than regular overclocks. It reduces recipe time by 50%, so that's the same as a normal overclock. But it multiplies the power by 4 plus 0.3 times the total number of laser overclocks. A normal overclock doesn't have the 0.3 factor. It's just multiplied by 4, and that's it. So it is a little bit better to use higher voltage instead of more amps, but powering UEV is a little bit difficult for me right now because I need to upgrade everything in my maintenance tunnels first. It uses a ton of energy because the EU per tick is the number of slices that are active times the power cost, so it is quite a lot. But this thing is very, very fast. Let me first show you my automation and explain it, and then we can do a craft and see how fast it is. So here I have stocking input buses. This is very similar to my circuit assembly line setup, where each thing is pre-configured to be the correct item for the recipe. As a result, this assembly line will only be able to do this one recipe, and that's fine. Same thing with the stocking input hatches, they're set to the correct fluids. I have an ME chest with a multi-fluid storage cell this time, because there are 3 fluids, and I have a normal storage cell for the items. The important thing is, the recipe has been multiplied by kind of a strange number. Instead of 2 or 4 or 8 or whatever, I've multiplied it by 7 and then by 4. 7 because there are 7 inputs. I don't fully understand why that's needed, but it is. If I don't provide enough inputs, the slices get stuck, and I'm not totally sure how to unstuck the slices. So doing this as a multiple of the number of inputs is a clean way to get this to operate to completion. As for data sticks, I just have a normal data access hatch with the 1 data stick. That's it. So let's try this thing out. Normally, this took me 30 seconds in the assembly line. Well, my assembly lines run at UEV now, so it would have taken 15 seconds each. So I would make 4 in 15 seconds. Let's see how fast it is with this thing. So if you look at the top, it shows you the different slices coming online one at a time. And now it's making 1 bioprocessing unit every 21 ticks, which is about 1 per second, a little bit less. So instead of 4 in 15 seconds, I make 1 in 1 second. And now you can see that the different slices are shutting down. And done. And indeed, the storage is now empty. It's all been perfectly cleared out. I should definitely set up more of these for the optical line. Question is, where do I put them? That is a question that I will answer later. For now, I'm going to continue working on the Mark 10 drone. Still need a little bit more Infinity Catalyst to get this done, but it shouldn't be too long. After that, I'll get back to working on the DTPF. As promised last episode, I have redone the nquata line. This is so much cleaner. I don't know what I was doing before with P2P tunnels and stuff. Like, what was I thinking? Well, I guess I didn't have stocking input hatches at the time, but still, this version is a lot nicer. I've upgraded to multi-blocks for the few machines that were not multi-blocks. And I've also expanded the neutron activators, so they are super long now, as long as I can fit in this building. If I want it to be even faster, I can of course make it even longer, but the question is, do I have space to do that? And it seems like the answer is yes, actually. So if I find that this isn't fast enough, I might expand this building this way and make these 3 even longer. Besides that, yeah, everything is moving pretty smoothly, I think. It's going to take so long to get through the nquata oxide mixture dust that I have. Truly an absurd amount of time. And now that my DTPF research is done, it's just a matter of making the blocks to actually build the multi. Just making the controller alone is going to cost me quite a bit of stuff. One more thing I want to show, I did a building stream, and I built the DTPF building. And I think this looks really nice. I used the Aurora blocks from the Twilight Forest. You can craft them, did you know that? But yeah, I used them because I was like, the DTPF uses this catalyst, and the catalyst color kind of oscillates a little bit, and I couldn't really find a block that oscillated like this. The closest one I could find was the Aurora block, so that's what I used. It was pretty cool. I like it. This is just connected to my Mega Factory, so this little window I used to have now leads to this next building. And there is a lot of space here. This side is closed off. This is where the sign is. This side has space to expand, and this side also has space to expand. And in between, I have a little maintenance area. I don't know what I'm going to put here. Probably like active transformers, maybe like, I don't know, subnet stuff if that's necessary. I have no idea what's going to go here. But it's a good amount of space to put some stuff. Now, while I wait for the DTPF materials to cook, I don't know. I guess I'll just start crafting it piecewise and upgrade things as I go. This is a lot more space than I actually need for the DTPF. Look at this. It's only like this big, a quarter of the area. So the rest can be used for other stuff. And I need a lot more assembly lines and a lot more advanced assembly lines. So I think I will also be working on that in the meantime. Yeah, cool. Back in a bit. Now that I've built the DTPF, which is great and all, I want to run it, but I'm not quite ready for that. So we'll talk about the mechanics when I'm actually getting around to it, but for now, I have placed a bunch of mixers, quite a few mixers. I think this is 48 mixers in total, and these are going to make the dimensionally transcendent catalysts. I've assigned 8 mixers to the first tier of catalyst, 8 to the second, 16 to the third, and 16 to the fourth. This way, I should build up an excess of each tier as I go along. Because of how the processing speed scales, I don't think the higher tier ones are going to be able to process 100% of the lower tier ones, which is good because I need all of these different tiers. This is just raw catalyst. To actually use the catalyst, I need to excite it. And to excite it, I need laser engravers. I still need to put these together, and I'll probably just place them on top over here. But for now, I want to start making some catalyst and seeing how long it's going to take. Oh boy, a long time. Well, I'm going to turn all of these on, get things going. As for the plasmas, by the way, the different plasmas that are required, I'm level maintaining them. I'm not making these on demand because that would be kind of silly, I think. So yeah, these are being level maintained. At least 1 million of each will be in storage at all times. So this is going to take quite a while for me to get enough catalyst to get going, so I will be back in a bit. Laser engravers are in place. These are all going to share the load, actually. So I have set up the stocking input hatches to be able to see all the different catalyst types, and it will just excite them in order. So building up the initial backlog is going to take a long time, which means I can focus on some other stuff. Specifically, I need more power. Now, I can, in theory, make the Mark IV nquata fuel, but I need tier 2 coils, and I need to source praseodymium, or hypogen later on. Hypogen is too expensive at the moment. I don't know where to get praseodymium, but it looks like it might need to use the extracting nanoresin method. There is also an ore for it, but it seems like the only way I can get it is through meteors, which I don't really want to use as a primary fuel source forever. I'll think about it, but for now I think my best option is to just scale up my existing power. Currently I have 4 nquata reactors producing a total of 1.6 billion EU per tick, but running these laser engravers and mixers is quite expensive. And I'm going to be doing it for a while. For the last hour, which is about how long it's been running, maybe a bit more, it's been using 700 million EU per tick. That's about half my power going just to that, so I need to scale up a bit more. I also want to work on these two things. So grade 8 water is an option now, and it's also required, and also the Mark IV compact fusion reactor, which is extremely expensive, but I want it. Besides those things, once I have enough of these catalysts built up, I can actually use the DTPF to make infinity, which would allow me to upgrade the DTPF to use infinity coils, which would be very nice because that unlocks a lot of recipes. But for now, I have a bit of a waiting game and a bit of a power infrastructure game to play. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think I can sustain my video schedule anymore. Just making the DTPF took so much time that I basically published my entire backlog of videos. And by the time you see this, you and I are synchronized again. So the next video might take some time. Thank you for watching this episode of the HamCorp Training Manual. In the next episode, which you may have to wait for, we will turn on the DTPF for the first time and start generating infinity. Along the way, we will continue working towards the Mark IV fusion reactor and upgrade infrastructure where necessary. See you next time.